If your program drums sound squashed, weak, or like you're slapping wet pieces of paper, then keep watching this video. Most drum libraries on the market these days, GDD, TuneTrack, Photospinato, any good high quality drum program is going to be pretty much awesome sounding out of the box. And the basic reason for that is the drums are heavily pre-processed. Now they do allow for tonal shaping and to kind of fit things into a mix a little bit, but there's one thing you generally do not need to do a lot of. And that one thing is compression. Now the reason why you're running into your program drums sounding weak, squashed, and like they're, wet pieces of paper is because you're following settings or you're treating program drums like they are real, raw acoustic drums. So like I say, straight up, the problem is you are applying way too much compression to your program drums. For this demonstration, I'm just using EZDrummer Death Metal EZX. I know a lot of you have it, and I know a lot of you use it. For all of my compression demonstrations today, I'm going to use the Aurora DSP Monster 4000 stereo compressor. Dan from Aurora DSP wanted me to check this out for you guys, and instead of just doing some boring ass review video, I thought I would, make some useful content with it. So big shout out to Dan for sponsoring the video and for giving me the idea of this video, and I hope you guys find it helpful. So like I'm saying, you guys are just applying too much compression. Now on the face of it, let's look at these compression settings. 4:1 ratio, we have a 200 Hertz filter, 3 millisecond attack, auto release, pretty much standard primo settings for drum bus compression, right? Well, check this out. We're only doing about 2 dB of gain reduction. Again, we're following the tutorial here, right? 4:1, 3 millisecond attack, auto release, we filter so we don't get the kick drum in there, and we do about 1 to 2 dB of gain reduction. But what are you noticing about this sound? Let me play it again, and you guys let me know if you can figure it out. Okay. Now, if you can't really pick it out, it's okay, because compression is going to be one of the hardest things to learn, along with like mixing low end. Your ears just have to get used to that, and I can't help you with that. You just have to practice this. But I'm going to show you, what the problem is. So I'm going to turn off the compression here, and then I will engage it while this is playing and see if you can pick out the difference. So compression off, let's start. I'll engage it about halfway through. So it's not a huge effect, right? That's what I'm talking about with you need some time to learn to hear compression, but the difference is quite large. So if you weren't able to hear it, I'll explain it to you right now. When the compression is turned on, there's two things happening. The first and most audible thing is that the snare is starting to become choked, all right? If we just listen to the drums by themselves, this is just a preset right in EZDrummer. Let's listen to the snare drum. So no compression, listen to the snare drum. The snare drum already has a lot of pop to it, and you can only get that kind of pop with compression already being applied. So this preset already has a lot of individual compression on the snare drum. So any compression we add to that will be cumulative, and it's not going to become better, and it'll only become worse. So let me turn on this compressor again with these settings. Remember, super basic primo settings, doing 1 to 2 dB gain reduction. Pay attention to the snare drum. So what's happening in the snare drum is we're starting to choke it. Now we're getting this super accentuated pop, right? Super poppy. But because of all the extra compression, the pop is very much in your face, but then the body is getting squished. This is what people mean when your snare drum becomes choked. All right, we're squeezing the body out of it because we have just too much compression. Now you're looking at this going, well, it's only 1 or 2 dB. How can it be so bad? Well, all the settings matter, right? Now, there are tutorials online with these kind of settings where people say, oh, I aim for 5 to 6 dB of compression. Well, if we did that, the problem becomes even worse. Like, I don't even have to level match that for you. You can definitely hear the problem in the snare. The snare is super choked now, and even the transient in the snare is starting to get buried a little bit. Now, that's the main issue. The second issue here is because the snare and the, if there had some toms in there, the snare and the toms would both be getting pushed down by the compressor. That would mean that your cymbals are going to become louder. So I don't know if you've noticed that. Even when I bring it down to only do 2 dB of compression, listen to the cymbals and snare relationship. So we're pushing the snare down and the toms down, but the cymbals get louder. This is a problem as old as time, and I've seen this in comments before, and people have emailed me about this. Oh yeah, I use the compressor, but then the snare or the cymbals get so loud and harsh. This is why we're adding too much compression. And what this would have you do, oh man, my cymbals are so loud, so now I'm going to turn the cymbals down and turn the snare up. Well, you go down this balance rabbit hole when at the end of the day you just had too much compression. So I've explained the problem here, and most likely you've already kind of thought like, oh, okay, well, it's too much compression, I guess I have to do less. And that is the answer. When you're working with programmed drum libraries, in 99.9999% of the cases, okay, even with these other libraries that are raw, they're not 100% raw, all right? They're just not. You don't need to do extreme forms of compression. What you want to do is just very slight forms of compression, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like. So let me demonstrate with very slight compression settings how this is going to sound. I'll start with it off, and then I will engage it. It's nearly imperceptible. It's just like almost not even there, okay? And that's really the whole point of drum group compression when you're using a drum library such as this. There's so much compression already in the processing. The bus group compression is just that little bit of glue to bring everything together. We're not losing the snare. We're not pushing it down in volume. We're not tightening up the transient and compressing the body even more. We're just kind of going like this with the drum transients, okay? Let me show you the settings here. Now you can see we're still doing 1 dB of reduction, right? But it's all in the settings here. First and foremost, we have a 2-to-1 ratio, very slight, okay? We still have the 200 hertz filter down here. We still have the 3 millisecond attack, and we still have the auto release. But we're making use of the mix knob here. We are bringing in some of the dry signal back into the compressor, so we are getting 80% of the compressed signal with 20% of the dry signal, and that's what helps make the compression sound more natural when you don't get this over-compressed type of pumping effect. So again, start with it off, and I'll turn it back on. When the compressor is on with this mix knob, there is a slight boosting of the body of the drums. It's very slight. And this, like I said, if you really can't hear it right now, it's okay. You just have to practice and just have to get used to it. But I would encourage you to get a compressor like this. The Monster 4000 is great. A compressor that allows you to do filtering and a compressor that has a mix knob. Those are two very important aspects of a modern drum bus compressor plugin these days, because adding in the dry signal is such a powerful tool where you can help keep the compression very natural sounding. The point stands. If you're using drum libraries and presets like this, for example, Death Metal EZX, you literally have to do no extra compression. There is nothing to gain from compressing your snare individually or your toms individually. That's all done for you. What you're really looking at is just slight tonal shaping, for your own tastes. Maybe scoop the toms a little bit more or brighten them, whatever. And then you're running all that through a bus compressor through your drums group. That's all you want to do. And go ahead and copy these settings. They're going to work great for you because you're just doing the final last bit of gluing for the entire drum sound. The fact remains that drum sample libraries like this are basically built for you to use and to work around, not generally to mix. They're for songwriting, to have really good sounds out of the box. They don't have to do a lot of fuckery to get them to sound good. And in most cases, maybe a touch of EQ on the snare boxiness and the toms, and then running these through a drum bus compression, that's going to be all you need to do. So go ahead, copy these settings, grab this plugin if you want. It's a really nice plugin, easy to use. Obviously, it's based on a, you can just kind of see the design of what it's based off there, and it's going to work just fine for you. Pretty short and to the point video today, guys, but I have a PDF. It's part of my Mixing Metal workshop. It is multiple pages long, going into the weeds with compression, how to dial it, etc., etc. It's all in the Mixing Metal workshop. You can get that down below the description box. It literally covers everything, not just compression, but EQ, reverb, mixing, workflow, everything. And it'll be a great resource for you to start learning how to mix metal. Once again, big shout out to Dan again for helping me make this video. You're going to see some more stuff from Aurora DSP coming up. Dan and I have been talking, and yeah, you're going to enjoy it. So that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.